for those of you who were not here for part one, this is a game called Draugen. It is a maybe sort of mystical kind of horror, but mostly just murder mystery. It is a first-person adventure. It takes place in 1922 in a small town in Norway. We are American. We are an American, like some kind of a doctor or an intelligent person, a learned person who is a bit sickly. We don't know exactly with what, but we have basically traveled across the world by ocean liner, and then rowed a boat here with our companion, who is a 17-year-old girl who we do not know the relationship of. It is not romantic, and they are not related to us. And she may be a figment of our imagination for all we know. But we are here searching for our sister, who is a reporter and was last communicated us by a cable that she was going to this town, and we lost contact. So we wrote to the people who live in this particular house and corresponded with them like a month or two ago.
Where are you?
I'm upstairs.
And they invite us to come. They invite us to come visit and like investigate.
Is that you?
But when we get here, no one in the town is here. So that's kind of where we're picking up. And there's more that's gone on, so I'll try to explain it to you guys as we go.
This is her room. Are you paying attention? Ruth. Can you imagine? One moment you're living a perfectly happy life, and then nothing. Darkness. Forever and ever.
So
maybe there's something here that can tell us what happened to her.
This is a waste of my time.
We might be the only ones left to tell her story, Edward.
You're just being melodramatic.
Okay.
I'll help you look.
So this is the other piece. We've come here looking for our sister, and we have found a couple of like clues that she was here, like her scarf and her hat. But we are also investigating a murder, well, potentially a murder. The daughter of this couple named Ruth died. She died. She fell from rocks. And what we've pieced together is that the town, or at least some people think that it was her cousin that did it. So this is like, we've already looked at this.
Ruth was an artist.
This is very primitive.
Have you ever met a child, Edward? She wasn't Monet. She was 8. This
So
must be the village church. That's Ruth and her family on one side of the aisle. Simon and his father on the other.
A community divided.
yes. So we have already gone through this on our own. Now the story, the plot train is kind of leading us through these pictures. But the family that we are in, the husband had a twin brother, and the wife had a twin sister, and they married each other. So twins and twins. The brothers went into business together, opening an iron mine in town. And then we pieced together that Ruth's father, Johann, pulled out of the business, and basically it screwed up the other brother, and then they've been feuding on and off for like 10 years or something. Like that happened a while ago. The mine was closed because people died. Or people died shortly after he pulled out. Like, not all of the details are perfectly clear, either to me because of my squirrel brain, or because it's intentionally a little bit vague because you have to fill in the pieces yourself. So Ruth is the little girl who died. Simon is her slightly older cousin. We also suspect, because we found a doll at the scene of her death that had like a 1,000-year-old Viking pin in it, that Ruth has gone off and found some kind of treasure.
She found something.
Where's that supposed to be?
A cave. Or the...
Mine. It could be. But what did she find?
She
something
found the
important
pin.
enough to draw.
And this may have unleashed a curse, her finding this.
That must be Ruth and Simon's fathers.
Perhaps. They weren't on the best of terms.
They look like they want to kill each other.
To a child, maybe it looked worse than it was.
Children are more insightful than you give them credit for, Teddy Bear.
Draugen.
Hey, the undead monster from those folk tales you read.
What an odd book for a child to have.
I don't know. Children love scary stories. This looks interesting. Read some of it to me, please.
In Norwegian folklore, the appearance of Draugen, the reanimated corpse of a drowned mariner, heralds death. Draugen haunts the black seas in a shattered boat. The beast has a man's body and wears a sou'wester, but instead of a head, there is tangled seaweed, and the revenant's chilling cry freezes mortal blood to ice. Draugen has the power to enter the dreams of the living. If you wake from such a dream, you have been spared, though someone close to you... That's enough of that. It's nonsense, of course. Not something a child should be reading.
Do you think Draugen took our boat? Maybe he's out there, on the fjord, waiting for nightfall so he can return to shore.
No.
Your soul lacks poetry, Edward Charles Harden. I pity you.
So, this is interesting because not only is the title of the game Draugen, but I think one of these pictures or something that we've seen from Ruth had like a drawing of a Draugen, if I'm correct.
She made her bed that morning. Before she...
Or her parents did. It doesn't matter. It tells us nothing.
Why are you like this today? Betty's not the only person
Betty
in
is
the
our
world
sister.
that matters.
She matters the most to me.
Ain't that the truth?
This thing.
Ruth never finished this. What does that spell? F-O-R-B.
For Banelson. The curse.
Who's that figure supposed to be? It's creepy.
That's the Draugen.
It looks a bit like the Draugen in her book.
A figment of her imagination. But the box she drew
Oh,
looks like this box under her desk.
Really? Let me see. Pull it out.
whoa.
What is this?
I believe this might qualify as actual treasure.
Is that Norwegian money?
Sort of, but ancient. Viking coins.
Are they valuable?
Not in terms of monetary value, but historically. They belong in a museum.
Looks like Ruth had her own private museum.
Why would a child have these artifacts?
She must have enjoyed collecting and playing with them.
These are much too precious to play with. She should have given these to an adult.
She was a child, Edward. To her, they were just shiny toys. Wait! The pin. On the doll.
This is where it came from. Her collection.
But where did she find these treasures?
If we're to believe
In the
her
mine.
drawing, perhaps the mine. She may have found a gravesite. Wherever she found them, she wanted to keep them hidden.
You think someone found out?
These items wouldn't necessarily be worth much, except to a historian or archaeologist.
Or a Draugen.
What if this is how... I mean, if someone learned she'd been collecting treasures, they might be willing to do terrible things. There's a story here. The treasure box, the drawings.
The overactive mind of an imaginative child.
She didn't imagine the Viking artifacts. You shouldn't be so dismissive. The drawings could be her way of dealing with traumatic events.
This is what happens when I read you the principles of psychology. You get notions.
You say that like it's a bad thing. Ruth was troubled. The village was troubled, and... Is that a bell?
Church bell. Someone's here. Maybe... Betty.
Why would Betty ring the church bell?
Perhaps she's in trouble. I need to get to the church right now.
Wait, isn't it more likely to be the person you saw the other night? We should be careful.
I told you, I'm not sure that was anything. Come on.
Go ahead. I'll catch up with you before you get there. I need a minute to think about all of it.
Teddy needs to work on his mansplaining. Welcome back, Nerdy. So we've never been to the church. I'm not 100% sure that this is the right way to get there, but it's up there on the hill, so... And yeah, if you think this FPS is rough, you should have seen it when I had motion blur on. It was... Whoa. It's a little bit better when you are not up close to everything.
July 24th. Memorial service. A commemoration of the accident at the mine this past summer. No services after that.
All these fresh graves. Do you think that maybe Betty
Why board up a church?
gone fishing?
God is not here.
Well, of course he isn't. You won't find God in a church. God is the wind in the trees, the grass between your toes, the brook that runs
That's
through.
nature, not God.
Who did this?
Someone who'd lost their faith.
Can you peek through the boards? See anyone?
No, I...
Listen! The bell! They're still in there!
Wild.
Hello? I heard the bell.
This is giving me
I'm
the
here to help.
heebie-jeebies.
These boards look flimsy enough to break.
Look at that. The Ethel becomes an Edward. I didn't think you had it in you, old fruit.
Be quiet. Betty? Are you here? Hello? This is Edward Harden. I'm looking for my sister, Elizabeth.
Stop shouting, Edward. We're alone. There are only ghosts here. What's this rope for?
The bell.
This is the bell we heard ringing?
I don't see any other bells.
So you have to stand here and pull this rope to ring it.
Yes.
But there was no one here. You didn't see anyone, right?
No. No one.
Ghosts. I'm telling you, it's ghosts. So what happened to the hunchback of Grovik?
They must be here still. There's only the one exit.
Maybe it was the wind.
A church bell's too heavy. It can't have been the wind. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was the wind. There's no one here.
I don't like that sound. Please stop. Stop it.
I'll never stop.
Stop it.
Lizzie, look.
Betty's gloves.
Betty's gloves. They are definitely Betty's.
Oh,
She
for
got
Pete's
these
sake.
in Boston before she left for New York. She bought them at Woolworth. I remember the day she's here.
Where? And why would she leave her clothes lying around? It doesn't make sense.
Breadcrumbs. She's sending me a message. She knew I'd recognize her gloves, her hat. She's left a trail for me to follow, like Ariadne's red thread.
We're not in a lab.
Betty will have left more crumbs.
Betty. You're turning into such a pill.
Why does she hate Betty so much?
What happened here?
The sign on the door. God is not here. Their faith was challenged, and it didn't survive.
What's that?
The last sermon that was held here.
What does it say?
The vicar's handwriting is hard to decipher, and the language.
King Robert's hammer!
King _
sermon
Roberts
was held on the
_ Hammer
anniversary of
just
the
subscribed.
this past
Juice it
summer.
for hype.
He's asking the congregation to help heal old wounds, to forgive, move on. Something to the effect of, you sit in separate aisles in God's house.
Like Ruth's drawing. I told you, she was perceptive.
How you doing, buddy? Thanks for the resub. Appreciate it. We're playing this spoopy murder game, so there's not a lot of hype to have right now, but
Edward?
Forgive each other. It addresses Johann and Frederick directly. But I wonder if they were even here.
Remember the wedding picture? They were close friends once. How could they allow their grudge to escalate until...
You call each other traitors, but the only thing you've betrayed are the bonds that unite us.
where are you going to dinner, buddy? And also, I can't believe it's been a month already, King Robert. Thank you so much for resubbing. I do appreciate it, my friend. And I hope Snuggle's good too. I know you guys have been busy, but hopefully we'll see you again soon, huh? You're hyped for Juice.
Sounds like Grovik was split in two. Between those who stood by Johann and those who supported Frederick.
Because of Ruth?
The sermon is from before that. No, this is all about the preceding 20 years of division and disagreements. Here's something else.
Hey, Puncher.
Many of you believe Grovik was cursed 20 years ago. God has not cursed you. This curse is of your own making.
Ruth's drawing mentioned a curse. What do you think that means?
It means they believed they were cursed, and that they needed something or someone to blame for their misfortune.
I would like to hear your compliment, my friend.
What are you
Snuggle
doing?
is here also. She
We're in a
sends juice love.
church.
Aw,
I thought
thanks.
you didn't believe in God.
I do believe in civility.
The final dinner.
The Last Supper. Who taught you about the New Testament?
I pick up on things. Most folks aren't heathens, like you.
The church book. A record of births and deaths.
So we can find
I
out
want
what happened to
bolognese.
the people in the village?
I have a beautiful neck. Thanks, buddy.
Elizabeth. I mean, If she was dead...
Oh, I don't have... Sorry. You know what the one thing is that I did do last time that I haven't done this time is I had the overlay up. Give me one sec here. Yes. So this is a bar that I put on the that shows the chat because I'm posting this to YouTube. And so I had it in there for the first playthrough and then I forgot for this one. But well, you know, it's fine. It's fine. Okay.
Her name would be in the book.
Vandals. Tore it to pieces.
I don't think the missing pages left the church. Look. How many pages are missing?
I counted 4.
They're probably all still here. I know. Let's make it a competition. 1-0 to Team Me. I wanted you to find that one. I know what a rotten loser you are. Jesus looks sad.
What reason would Jesus have to be happy?
Don't be blasphemous.
Given that this is all fiction, blasphemy is a contradiction.
Heretic.
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily intentional, but I didn't want to cover up the actual game with the sidebar. So last time we had this thing going on, which we can still have.
Monitor's not a toy, Andy.
Everything is a toy if you play with it.
Everything's a toy if you play with it. So we can go back to the top view, but I have to edit or the bottom bar. But I have to edit something real quick and turn this on. What's up, Scoots Magoots? All right, maybe that's better. Just got me a delish salted nut roll.
Found another one. You get it. It's right here.
Just couldn't see all of the game in the previous one competitively.
Just one more page missing.
We already saw the page, didn't we? When we walked in.
considered this a sacred place. For them to destroy it. This was an act of desperation and anger.
I've never seen you read the Bible before.
I've read the Bible many times. It's an important historical document. For he is our peace, who hath made both one, and hath broken down the middle wall of partition between us.
Did you just translate that into Old English?
I happen to know the verse by heart.
You still manage to surprise me sometimes.
Alright, so there's a missing page yet that we need to find. Am I dumb? Man, yes is the answer, but can't move back there. There's nothing else over here, right? Let me see if I can change the fob on this because it feels like we're really zoomed into everything, and it's a little bit distracting, I think. Resolution scale. Maybe we shouldn't mess with that. Motion Bert. Yeah, I think it is what it is. Good morning, Bardar. Birdar. Birder.
Where are you going?
I don't know where I'm going. I'm looking.
Where are you going?
I don't know where I'm going. I'm looking, I said.
Stop it.
I don't know where this last page is. I might be blind. Like... Oh. It was right there.
Tie. Good job, Teddy, old
Stop,
bean.
Lissy. This is not a game. Betty's out.
On my way to steal your
horse
girl.
feathers.
Sweetest
Stop
Hootie,
being
I'm
so
coming for
gosh
that
darn
booty.
tedious, Edward.
Sweetest Hootie, I'm coming for that booty.
Will you ever shut up about your precious Betty? Put those pages back in the book, and I'll stop trying to cheer you up.
Schnecky Theft, how you doing?
This book goes back years. It lists births and deaths. Here's the third Fretland brother. The one who died in a cave-in. Someone added the word for Banelson, probably quite recently.
What does that mean again?
Curse.
That word is all over this book. Not just the men who died in the mine, but other deaths in the last 20 years.
Ruth's drawing and the sermon both mentioned a curse. What do you think it means?
I don't know. There were surprisingly few births.
Perhaps they blame that on the curse as well.
Whoa.
Look here. Ruth Elsa Fretland. She was buried in the cemetery. And the next entry, Simon Fretland. Now this is interesting.
Simon is dead? Oh, that's dreadful.
Simon is the cousin.
Drowned the day after Ruth died. Probably no coincidence. See what's scribbled next to it?
Mord?
Murder.
Who killed him? Ruth's father? Or the mob that trashed the store?
It doesn't say. After the children.
See a snuggle
half
and
dozen
King
deaths
Robert.
in a single week.
The curse.
It's listed as the cause for every single death.
Maybe there really was a curse.
Primitive superstition. But something changed after Ruth and Simon. It might explain why there's no one around.
Edward, if it killed everyone, how's that not a curse?
I love juice.
Hi, Katie.
What does that word say? Next to those names at the bottom. Fred,
Traitor.
So I don't understand the key here. I'm not seeing where it says Simon. Oh, Simon Fretland. Okay. So all of these kids, John Anderson, Lars Andreas Ellingson, all these people are dead. Except for Harold and this Arut Berg, I don't know, who are listed as traitors.
Edward? What's wrong?
Final entry. There's no name. Alice. What if
Oh, Edward, no.
Betty?
It doesn't mean she's...
She's not dead. She can't be. I'd know.
Teddy.
I need to see the grave for myself. It's not Betty. Betty's still alive.
Teddy? Where are you going? Don't leave me! Edward!
You better not be here, Betty. I'll never forgive you.
What? I mean, where do you go to look?
Where is it? I don't see it. This one. It's unmarked.
What are you doing? Have you gone completely mad? Edward, stop it!
Thank God. It's not her. It's not Betty. It's not her.
Oh, Edward. What have you done?
It's not Elizabeth. I was so afraid.
You're a monster.
But I had to be sure. If Betty had...
To hell with your Betty! When did she ever shed a tear for you?
Don't talk about my baby sister like
Or
that.
what? Or what, Edward? What will you do? Ignore us? Banish us? You've spent your entire life chasing her. When are you going to do something useful with what's left of it?
Quiet! Just leave me be.
Fine.
Ah!
See? Alice? Come back. Don't leave me alone. Please. Come back. I need you.
Told you, Scully was right. She's a figment. She's a voice in our head. It all, I mean, it all added up from a pretty early heart. Hey, snazzy bastard. It's a very good game so far. We're uncovering a mystery. Although I'm not quite sure where we go from here. Can we like cover the person back up? I think we need to explore the mine. Clearly. And maybe like bring the treasure back to fix the curse. I'm not sure.
I was afraid you'd left me. Now listen to me. No! Listen. Hey. Listen. Please, listen to me. I didn't mean what I said.
Of course you meant it. Everything's always about Betty. Betty, Betty.
I care about you both.
Until it really matters. Then it's obvious who matters more.
I thought she was dead.
I wish she was!
Don't.
You deserve to be alone.
Please, talk to me.
What's there to talk about?
You can't keep running away from me.
You think you own me? That you control me? That you get to decide how I feel and what I do every minute of every day? That I'm your puppet, your little plaything? Well, fuck you, Edward Charles Harden!
Language.
Never should have come here with you on this pointless chase!
Now, be reasonable.
It's definitely leading us back.
What are you doing?
What I should have done years ago. Maybe now you'll learn to appreciate us.
Now listen to me. Please, listen. Hear me out. Don't do this. You can't do this to me. I need you. I'm not whole without you. I can't lose you. I can't live without you. Don't, please, don't, no. What? No! Oh, Alice. What have you done? Please, be all right. Please, don't.
You make me sick, Edward. Your mother and father would be ashamed. Elizabeth would be ashamed. They did not think you deserved their love, so they abandoned you.
Don't.
Oh, my child. We are all that you have, and we love you. We are here. With us, you are never alone. Do not forget.
No. Never. I never forget. I am never alone.
Okay. This shifted, didn't it? It's cool.
Wake up, Edward. Stop hiding.
Hi, Tuzzy. I'm gonna pause alerts for a little while just because it kind of ruins the vibe of the game, but I'm happy to see you.
You are right in fearing for her. You cannot hide from us.
Where's Lissy?
Alice is not here.
Bring her back. Please. I need her to...
Alice does not love Elizabeth like you do.
She loves me.
Not like I do, Edward.
I'm so tired. Please.
What do you want?
I think of you so often. You have no idea.
You just want me to forgive you so that we can keep looking for your precious, perfect Betty.
She needs us.
She never needed you, Teddy Bear. And she certainly doesn't need us.
I can't find her on my own.
Well, that's just too bad, my darling Edward. Because we're done playing second fiddle to little sis.
Wait, don't go. I'm talking to you, Lissy. Oh.
I wonder if Alice is like, was his sister, like maybe his older sister or something who died. So Alice and Betty never knew each other, you know, and like she's become sort of a ghost inside of his head.
Please. Lissy. Listen. You can't keep vanishing on me.
Try me.
Why are you so angry?
You do not know anger, Edward.
Did you ever meet my father?
Alice does not want to speak with you.
And what about you? Are you going to help me?
God helps those who help themselves.
I don't need God's help. I need Lissy.
Do you, though? Did you ever?
What? Of course, I... Don't go. Alice. Hear me out. I depend on you both.
You can never depend on other people, Edward.
I'm not sure you count as other people.
Everyone leaves, one way or another.
You don't. You can't.
Is that a challenge?
Stop playing games.
Are you ordering me, Teddy Bear?
I'm asking you.
Didn't your father always tell you to stand up for yourself? To be a real man and not a sissy? Maybe that's why he put the gun to his head and pulled the trigger. Kaboom! He was so disappointed about what his only son had turned into.
You're a monster.
Takes one to know one. Old fruit.
Yikes. We're learning stuff. Dwarf is always eating cheese. This is true. I guess we're not leaving. Maybe she's upstairs.
I gave you this jacket. Betty. You were here. Alice, be reasonable. Lissy, I'm tired of chasing you. trying to talk to you. Lissy, look. Her jacket. I'm sure it wasn't here yesterday, which means
Jesus Christ,
Betty was
Teddy.
here. Perhaps when we were out yesterday. She
Betty,
must have...
Betty.
Betty.
You love Betty more than you love us. But don't you see? What has Betty done that we haven't? What can she do that we cannot? We've always been there for you. Why do you keep looking for her?
She's real. You're not.
So?
What? You decide what is real. We are real to you.
We'll never be the same.
Koala, why don't you just get help from someone?
She does not want you.
We can help you.
Who are you talking about?
Why do
No
you
reason
think
to give
Betty
up.
left? She was sick and tired of us. She wanted to escape.
Like mother.
Drowning herself because she couldn't stand being around us.
Like father.
Bang! Right in the coconut.
Stop.
You drive them all away, Edward. All into death.
But not us. We're always here for you.
I beg you.
You are never alone.
Stop! Leave me alone, both of you.
You want to be alone?
You really want to be alone?
Fine. You're alone.
For good.
Lissy.
We still have never gotten into this door. And I feel like I'd be curious to figure out what the heck is in there, right? It's also weird that we found Betty's coat at the top of the stairs, like, just now. We've been up here a million times, and then it didn't really make a big deal out of it. Right? The plot train is leading us somewhere. You don't have to go, Katie. But I can't help you right now. I can help you later on. Are we making a Betty? Will we keep finding the bread crumbs, her outfit pieces and stuff? So, kind of.
Betty? Elizabeth? Is that you? Are you upstairs?
Oh, now we can get into this door, maybe?
Betty, I'm coming. Betty? Betty? Are you in there? Open the door. I'm coming in. Stand away from the door. Betty? No. No, 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 no. Oh. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I thought it was you, Betty. But who? Anna.
So this body's been here for days since we've been here. And we didn't... This is messed up, man.
You said this was a gift from another unlucky suitor. It was precious to you. You wouldn't have left it here unless... A signpost. A breadcrumb. But what's so important about the Fretlands? I will figure this out. I will find you, I promise.
We can't just leave. Oh, here we go.
It's from Johann, addressed to his wife. Did you notice the handwriting, Betty? He was clearly distraught. Knock, ere knock. Enough is enough. After decades of strife, I pray that God will... Tilly, forgive me. I am tired of secrets. For 20 years I have kept my silence about our discovery, but my silence has only led to misfortune, and my cowardice has only led to death. I will make Frederick pay for what he has done to us, for what they have done to our Ruth. When it is over, I will let the ocean take me to you and Ruth. May God forgive me. Anna was already dead when he wrote this. He had no one else to confess to. What now, Betty? Johann went to confront his brother, probably at Frederick's farm. And then? You followed Johann to Frederick Fretland's farm, and then to the mine. You wouldn't let this go, Betty. You'd follow your story to the end. All the way to the end. So where is Frederick's farm?
I'm gonna guess it's that way. And now it's starting to snow. I feel like, honestly, like, so Johann, or she was dead before Johann wrote that note, which means she was dead well before we arrived. Which means she's been sitting there decomposing for weeks. And we didn't notice?
What led you to this place? All these fragments. You would piece them together into a story, wouldn't you, Betty? So, what do we know? Johann and Frederick are partners, and on good terms. Something happens in the mine. Disagreements lead to a falling out. And at the end of it all, 20 years later, Johann this your doing, Johann? Did you burn your brother's farm to the ground? And where were you, Betty? Did you witness their fall?
Skelly, you were right about Alice, by the way.
What do you reckon, Betty?
We need a different date or some other piece of information. That leads us to open that safe. I don't think these buildings are gonna let us get in, eh? I think this is just story or setting, maybe. Props.
Betty? Are you here, Betty? Betty!
Of course. Margaret Fretland. Well, we knew she died. So there's a date to try. And then this would be Simon, I guess, eh? Yep.
Simon's grave. Born December 5th, 1909. Died September 17th, 1923. The safe. Frederick would choose numbers that meant something to him. Why bury Simon here and not at the cemetery? His wife's grave is also here. Perhaps Frederick wanted nothing to do with the church or with their god.
Hey, Rumpled, how you doing?
I could really use your imagination, Betty. You'd figure this out in no time.
Alright, well, I would presume that it will give us the option to try these dates then in the safe.
Let's try Simon's birthday. Another Viking artifact, Betty. Most likely from the same treasure Ruth found. Postmarked in Boston. That's a curious coincidence. Dear Frederick, I hope this letter, it's in English, Betty. Hope this letter finds you and the boy in good health. We're concerned about you both. No word from you for almost 2 years now. All of us still heartbroken about Margaret's passing. We know things have been difficult for you and Simon.
I want to read that. Because I think those names were the people that were traitors.
Mr. Fretland, we expect you to take care of this problem. If the discovery is made public, the authorities will intervene and the mine will be shut down. Should this happen, we will consider it a breach of our contract, and we will withdraw our investment. You and your brother will be responsible for all debts and losses. Johann must be convinced to wall up the chamber. We've already dealt with the worker who made the discovery.
What?
The Fretland Mining Company. I wonder what this unlocks.
I think we're gonna find out what it unlocks. I want to read the letter, dude.
You went to the mine. I hope our guardian angel watched over you.
There's a way to read the journal, right? What's the journal key? J. Yeah, read this. Dear Mr. Harden, I hope this letter finds you well. My husband... No. That's not the one. I want the one that we just picked up. Yeah, I think that it was addressed... The letter from Boston, I think, was addressed by the names that it seemed to be listed, if I recall, in the church ledger under trader. But it didn't read all of the English in that note, and I don't think there's a way for me to do it now. It's his car
Alright,
keys.
Betty. So what happens next in your story?
Discovery was what was unearthed to cause this avalanche of misfortune. What triggered such bitter disagreement between brothers? I'm interested in the
Johann
discovery.
and Frederick discover something in the mine. A cave or a chamber of archaeological value. They argue about what to do. If the discovery is made public, it's the end of their enterprise. Johann is convinced or paid to walk away. Their secret stays hidden. Then, a few months later, the accident. 3 men die. The investors pull out. The mine shuts down. Frederick's up to his neck in debt.
At some point during this game, we figure out how to use the 3 seashells, is what I heard. Just a heads up.
Cursed mine in Grovik. Locals struggle with bad crops and livestock deaths and blame it on... They thought they were cursed because of the mine. A thing like that becomes self-fulfilling. If you believe you're cursed, every misfortune feeds the delusion.
Are we gonna see that the Draugen we're like Scooby-Doo the Draugen, and it's gonna take off his mask, and it was like the operator of the lighthouse this entire time? Old Man Withers, you've murdered all the children? Yes, and I got away with it.
So, 20 years pass.
So the curse, the imagined curse, became a crutch for all their misfortunes, casting a long shadow on every life. The few grew infested in the cold belly of Gravik, a cancerous beast, born from the wreckage of the mine.
Fretland feud tears the village apart, setting neighbor against neighbor. And then, Ruth stumbles across the secret in the mine. After all this time, the truth may finally come to light, but she dies. And the day after, Simon is murdered.
Which way do we go?
It's a catalyst. Old grievances resurface. No matter who you stand with, you're a traitor. Things escalate. More people die. From disease, despair, suicides, murder.
Murder? Am I missing something, or is this just the wrong way to go? Well, it's not letting me climb back down.
Did you come here to tell their stories?
Yeah, but he fell. Old Man Withers just fell into the trap every time, right? And then he was tied up, so he couldn't murder them.
All because of the mine. Because of what they found there. And what they covered up. There was no one to stop it, Betty. They were alone. That's the real curse of Grovik. Isolation. This place is cursed. Ridiculous.
Oh, it's the head of the doll!
Ruth was here the day she fell.
Is there a truth here that I haven't yet grasped? What am I truly searching for in this desolate hole under the mountains? Am I looking for something that was never there?
You were here, Betty. You saw Ruth. Maybe you tried to help, but she ran all the way to the cliff where... Do you know what happened, Betty? Did you witness it?
Did you cause it, Betty? Are you the murderer?
Hello? Betty, are you in there? Please answer me.
Did you just F-O-F that to the creepy doll head, Uni? She who uses the eyeballs of humans as decoration in her humble abode. CML. I like how this raven is like literally leading us.
Oh, Betty. This
is your pin.
Mother's brooch.
Mother's brooch.
You always wore this. You wouldn't take it off unless... You left it here for a reason. What am I not seeing?
It's the cask of Amontillado. Betty is inside. She can't get out. Oh shit. Shift to run. I don't want to run. I want to investigate. Did a bird cause the mine to collapse? Well, now we're never gonna find Betty. She was inside the hole, right?
Edward!
What?
Edward!
Betty? Elizabeth? Is that you?
Edward? Where are you?
I'm on my way, Betty. Wait for me. I'm here, Betty. It's Edward. Stay where you are. I'm coming. I can hear you. Hold on. I'm almost there.
Edward! Where are you?
I'm on my way.
This is not gonna end in happiness.
Edward, please! Hurry!
I'm coming, Betty. Stay put, Betty. I'm coming for you.
Edward!
I'm almost there. Betty? Betty! Just stay put. Elizabeth?
Are we?
Oh, Edward! Hurry!
I'm coming. I'm on my way.
Is that you? I'm in here.
Thank God. Thank God. Elizabeth, there you are. Finally. You have no idea how long I've been looking for you. You had me so worried.
He knows Elizabeth so well, every part of her. Her scent, her clothes, she's complete, and she's here. He found her.
Look. Your brooch. Mother's brooch. You must have lost it at the mine. Let me put it on for you, Betty. I wouldn't want you to lose it again.
Oh, this is bad.
She's been dead for 30 years, Edward. Elizabeth was never here. But we didn't come for her. We came for Johann, and Anna, and Frederick, and Simon, and Ruth. We're here to tell their stories.
No. Elizabeth. She's here.
You know Betty died when she was a baby. She drowned in the pond. And you found her. You were just 11. You carried her to your mother. And your mother...
She hated you for that.
She could never forgive you for bringing her baby to her. And you could never forgive yourself for what she did after. You always forget this. Because you don't want to be alone. So you bring Betty back. Again and again. To New York. To Boston. To the house. But always just out of reach. Never quite there. The scent of her. The echo of her. But never really her. And all it does is make you lonelier. But the thing is, Edward, you're never alone.
You have us.
And you'll always have us. Betty's... She was never there for you. She couldn't be. You can't lose us. We're a part of you.
Forever. And ever. And ever.
But you need to let Betty go now. There's not room for all of us in there.
I couldn't save you, Elizabeth. I'm so sorry.
Greta Gaynor. To my biggest fan with best wishes.
It is as painful to wake from a vision as it is to be born anew.
They're not real, dwarf. She's Yeah, they're in her mind. We found...
Goodbye, Betty.
I mean, it basically just laid out the plot or the story of us, of Edward. So he found his drowned sister, which led to his mother.
Are you up? Come outside. It's a beautiful day.
His mother then killed.
I might be weaned off the stuff.
Boo. Don't lose your taste for tea, old fruit. It keeps you human.
So his
We have
mother
unfinished
killed
business.
herself. Then his father
Final
killed
piece of the
himself.
puzzle.
Ruth.
Come on. Let's go back to where it started. We
And-
have an appointment with a ghost.
The question is, so Betty was never there for us. We consistently apparently do this in search of her, but in this case, like,
Such an amazing view, isn't it? And the air. Ugh. Boy, that sure is something.
this is
Why
where
did we come here, Teddy?
she
Draugen.
died.
Well,
So we came here in search of Betty, who we know now is not real. She was never a reporter. She was never traveling. We invented that narrative, though we did reach out to the woman in the house who we found dead. So we corresponded about this missing sister of ours that was never really missing. We just thought that she was because obviously we have some kind of a psychotic break or whatever it would be called. Yeah, this is not a good feeling. So we've come here with Alice, who we never really knew what the relationship between Alice and our character was, because she's basically this represented as a 17-year-old girl who's obviously sort of the, I don't know if she's the id or the ego or super ego or whatever. My Freud is out, but we didn't have any reason to believe she wasn't real until you started thinking about it, and Skelly was the first one to point it out, right? Like, she's always awake. She's always, she's not ever touching anything. Like, there was like little clues. And then, but we continued to find like Betty's gloves and Betty's hat and Betty's coat and whatnot. But these things aren't actually Betty's. And that picture that we were carrying around wasn't Betty. It was Greta Garbo or whatever the movie star was. So we came here in search of our dead sister's ghost. But the question is why? Why here? Where things happened, where there were murders, where there's this curse. How did we learn about it? Why? So this is kind of the rest of the final question that we have to tie up this really sad story about this guy's, like, obviously, like, intense, psychological situation is what happened in Gravik beyond what we've learned. Why are we here? What happened to our boat? Who killed everybody? Like, so there are some questions. Anyway, Gravik, he was drawn here as though this place has an ethereal weight to it. Elizabeth may be a specter, but she still holds power over me. What if he thinks the answer is simple and logical? A conversation in a public place, a name subconsciously registered.
letter to Frederick.
The one you found in his safe. From Boston.
I may have overheard a conversation somewhere, paid it no attention, but the name stuck. And Betty... And I spun a story around it that put us on this path.
Do you really believe that? I mean, how often are you around people?
Some places have gravity.
What are you saying? Gravewick's gravity pulled us across the Atlantic Ocean?
Grovik. No, I'm not saying that. That's irrational.
But you believe it, don't you? That we were summoned to tell their story.
To find my sister.
But Betty's not. She was never here. It doesn't make sense.
I'm a man of science. I don't know what to believe.
And yet, here we are. All three of us.
Is this what you wanted to show me?
I wanted to be close to her. Do you believe in ghosts, Edward?
You know I don't.
Well, you've been chasing one for years.
That's different.
What about me? Us.
You're not ghosts. You're alive.
Fair enough. So what really happened to Ruth?
Accident. So much misery is entropic, he knows. Chance events that cascade into accidental avalanche that destroys people. Murder. She must have been killed, thinks Edward. It can't all have been because of an accident. What do you guys think? Did Ruth fall from this spot while she was playing and die? Or really, was she murdered? Was she pushed? Was it Simon?
She was probably murdered.
By Simon?
I don't think it was Simon. Simon was a convenient scapegoat. He thinks they needed one to focus their rage, blinding them to facts.
No, I don't believe it was Simon.
Then who? Frederick? The hanged man? Someone else?
Does it matter?
Maybe not. So she ran from the mine. And she came here. And then someone pushed her? If only she had wings. Like a bluebird. She could have soared away on autumn winds. But why was she killed?
The mine, he knows, was dangerous and not just literally. It represented something more. Oh. And it held secrets many wanted buried. Edward thinks of Ruth's treasure, ancient things of value to her, but cursed, if that was the right word, by a history she was unaware of. You think that we're the murderer? It's possible that we've spun this whole story, which has root in, like, psychological truths. And we're gonna discover that we were the ones that did it. I guess.
Because she was playing where she shouldn't.
The secret the Fretlands had kept for a generation. If people learn the truth, it might tear the community apart. So she was murdered, and the village was cursed. I hope she's at peace. And with God. Do you think that's where everyone's gone?
Heaven? Edward believes there's only darkness after death, but strange as it may seem, Alice has her own beliefs, and it feels almost cruel to deny her those. He has no faith in an afterlife. He saw into his mother's dead eyes. He saw the gunshot wound in his father's head, and he knew even then that heaven was a lie. Jeez, man. Tupac is alive.
Heaven? They're dead. I don't know what that means. Maybe there is more. I can't stop you from hoping. You'll never know what happened to everyone in Grovik.
We tried our best. We'll remember them. All of them. Maybe that will give them some peace in the afterlife. Could this be your book, Edward? The one you've been wanting to write? A story about people who are isolated, left behind by the world. You can give them all a proper ending, with no annoying loose threads. Edward! Is that...
Our boat? But how?
Who cares? Let's catch it before it sets out on another adventure.
I don't understand how this can be.
Draugen got tired of sailing around in it and brought it back to us.
It must have been the wind.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, teddy bear. Let's blouse while the weather's still good.
I need my suitcase.
So get a wiggle on, old boy. I'm going to say my goodbyes to all the things. I don't think we'll be back. Meet you at the house.
My goodness. Righty ho. No rush. We have all day.
It still doesn't really explain, like, who wrote traitor and murderer and cursed and all this stuff. Child killer. Right? What happened to Johann? Well, he killed himself, right? After his wife died. He went and burned down his brother's farm. What happened to the brother? He'd be the last one alive, right? So Frederick, right? His wife dies. Well, so Johann and Frederick's smaller brother die in the mine 20 years ago or whatever. Then they split up. Then it's Frederick's wife that dies. Then it's Johann's wife that dies, and that's the body that we've found. Did she die before or after Ruth? I guess after. Hard to know. And then Simon is dead. We know that. Buried next to his mother. And then Johann writes the letter saying he's going to finally go confront his brother and then basically kill himself, right? And meet her and Ruth in the afterlife. But we don't know what happened. Presumably Johann is dead. We don't know yet what happened to Frederick, right? But we suspect that there's someone or something causing destruction or doing these things. And if it's not us causing it, it means that maybe Frederick is still alive? Unless Frederick was... No, because we would have recognized him. He wasn't the hanged man. He wasn't the one that was buried. The boat appeared right next to Tupac is alive. Tupac is alive. You are the brother? You think I'm the brother? No, I'm not the brother. Because we've looked in the mirror a bunch of times, haven't we? Maybe we're the brother. Frederick is coming for us next. Well, I feel like something's going to happen. We're not just coming up here to grab our suitcase, right?
Come on, Teddy. Pack your things. I'll meet you by the boat.
Do you never sit still?
Don't be a wet blanket. Let's make like the wind and get out of here.
No, I don't think we are. Frederick was a redhead, and he had a beard and a mustache. Or he had a mustache, right? You could shave the mustache, but it wouldn't make us have black hair unless we somehow dyed it. But this is the 1920s. Like, I feel like whatever you could have done wouldn't have been very lasting, right? ice thousands of years old. I get it, but like permanent? Because we've been here for days and days. We've like been out in the rain. I just feel like that would be as much of a stretch as anything, I guess. I could be wrong.
Come on, let's go. Row, Teddy, row. The water's still cold.
It's a fjord, Lissy, and it's almost winter.
There'll be snow when we get back to Hanover.
The house will be warm.
Are we going to be all right, Edward?
I think so.
We row across the Atlantic, huh? Yes. Hans Christian Andersen is apparently part of this. Are you unsatisfied? Dissatisfied, Randa? Does this mean there'll be a second one? Yes, it's leaving the story open for a sequel. Returning to Hanover. Draugen Part 2, The Draugening. Stone Lady. No? What do you mean, Stone Lady? You mean the girl, Ruth? I like it like this. Stone Angel looked like a weeping angel from Doctor Who. The Studio of Secrets Incorporated. Is that a thing? No, Studio of Secret 6 Incorporated. All right. Well, I don't know. I liked it. I liked it. We never do find out what happened to Frederick, though, right? We never found out who the hanged man was. I mean, it's just the presumably the town that was divided used Ruth's death and perceived murder as a catalyst for destruction. And apparently they all either killed each other or left or killed themselves. Because the Hanged Man was a suicide. Maybe they invented medication for schizophrenia in the 20s and he got medicated and was like, the hell are we? Well, I assumed when she kept asking him if he had taken his noodle juice that he was like off of his meds, right? And his response always made it sound like tea. Like that was his noodle juice, was to drink tea. Edward and Alice will return. Wait, there is a sequel. It can't be good though, because it's like The Matrix Part 2. Like you already know that The Matrix exists. Like Alice is a figment or whatever. That's like part of the twisty bits that make the game and the story cool. Now it's just we've become Indiana Jones, like schizophrenic Indiana Jones. Like we are going to Greece and we're gonna find the buried treasure of Socrates. Alice is real and Edward is the figment. Twist. Bruce Wayne is the mask.